out your bedroom window, which would you rather see? This? Or this? I agree. Today, I'm going to tell you why you should protect local farmland. The famous American author, Henry David Thoreau, said that fools stand on their island of opportunities and look towards another land. But there is no other land. There is no other life but this. Land is quite literally the foundation of human civilization, and you should care how we use ours. I grew up on a family farm and have spent over a decade working in agriculture, with organic hippies on CSAs to industrial cattle operations. My passion for agriculture led me here to Montana State, where I study economics and sustainable foods. In preparation for this presentation, I spent a lot of time combining my personal knowledge with academic resources from journals on economics and food systems. Today, I'm going to give you 3 reasons to protect local farmland: for the resilience of local foods, to fight inequality, and to create health in our communities. Finally, I will tell you how to take action to protect local farmland. Now let's begin with the resilience of local foods. We currently rely on a global food supply chain to secure all our foods that we eat in this country, or most of them. But the world is getting more unpredictable. From war in Ukraine, war in Gaza, to global supply chain disruptions from terrorist attacks, climate change, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Local foods are more sustainable because they come from our community. They come from a mile up the road. Data published by the Economic Research Service showed that almost 60% of our fruits in America and 40% of our vegetables come from foreign countries. This represents a vulnerability because we are reliant on foreign sources which can be disturbed. The second reason that local foods give us a strong, are more resilient is because they give us a strong local economy. In a study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Applied Economics, Hughes et al. Found that direct-to-consumer food systems, or local foods, have a net benefit for not only the agricultural sector, but the medical sector, the transportation sector, and others, in addition to raising the average wage in your area. A study published by Henneberry et al. Found that direct-to-consumer foods can bring farmers up to 80% increased returns, which is more money that stays in our local community. Now, I recently had the opportunity to meet Bob Quinn, who's a pioneer of regenerative and organic agriculture in Big Sandy, Montana. When he took over his family farm, it could barely support 2 people, him and his father. As Bob has transitioned to a more locally focused food design, his farm can now support 9 families, which may not seem like much, but it's a big deal in the town of Big Sandy with a population of 500. Now, if you ask the CEO of Safeway what he thought about all this, I'm sure he would say, well, that's all very romantic. But don't you like eating blueberries in December? And I'll be honest, I do like eating blueberries in December. I'm not saying that we should get rid of our global food supply chain. I'm saying that we need a better balance so that we can be more resilient as the world changes. Next, let's look at how protecting local farmland can fight inequality. It has become in vogue for the ultra-wealthy nowadays to buy farmland as an investment. From Mark Zuckerberg in Hawaii to Bill Gates pretty much everywhere, to all these others, as well as Chinese corporations, multinational corporations. While this may not seem like a big deal at first, what this does is it denies young and local farmers the opportunity to buy that land. It drives up prices so that young farmers can no longer afford the land. This puts young farmers in a position where they have to rent from these wealthy landowners. It's basically just a modern form of sharecropping. Thomas Jefferson, founding father, said that the earth is given as a common stock for man to labor and live on. The small landowners are the most precious part of the state. By protecting local farmland, you protect not only your community, you protect our democracy. Now, if we ask these billionaires if they're planning on abusing their power, they're gonna say no, of course not. And maybe they won't. But the question is, do we want to put absolute power over our farmland, over our food, into the hands of just a few wealthy individuals? Or do we want power over that land to stay in our local communities? The third reason to protect local farmland is to create health in our community. Local foods and local farmland give both direct and indirect benefits. In terms of nutritional benefits, those of you that watched Amanda's speech for our last quiz will already know that local foods are more nutritious because they are fresh and they are harvested at peak nutrition. In addition to this, Bob Quinn points out that conventionally produced foods are often overprocessed. This is bread which was grown locally and baked locally. You can see it's gotten a lot more texture, a lot more color to it. Whereas this is conventionally produced bread. It's had almost all of the nutrients stripped out of it because that makes it easier to ship and easier to sell, but it's basically just sugar at this point. In addition to the direct nutritional benefits, there are also indirect benefits that come from living in the vicinity of green space. In a book published in 2018 on urban planning, Dodd Bond and that other guy reviewed the health research onto the benefits of green space in our communities, on living next to green space. They identified several key benefits. The first is brain development and cognitive ability. Humans evolved in nature. It is important for us to have access to nature. Children who grow up next to green space have a lower risk of developing ADHD or other behavioral problems. Adults have a better attention and better cognitive abilities when they live next to green space. The second benefit is mental health. And for this, I'd like to refer back to my opening. Which of these images gave you more peace, made you feel more at ease? Studies show that living next to green space lowers the risk of developing psychiatric conditions, such as depression and anxiety. The third benefit is just general health. People who live close to green space are less likely to develop cardiovascular disease, are less likely to develop diabetes, and other general health conditions. You should protect local farmland because it creates health in our community. Now you may be saying, well, that's all well and good, but what can I do? So now we're gonna get a little bit interactive. I want everyone to pull out your phones. A law recently passed in Montana requires every county to develop a long-term land use and development strategy. This QR code takes you to a link that Gallatin County, for a survey that Gallatin County is conducting right now. Gallatin County wants your opinion on how our land should be used going into the future. I ask that you give them your opinion and that you tell them that you want to protect local farmland. You should want to protect local farmland for the three reasons we've discussed: the resilience of local foods, to fight inequality, and to create health in our communities. Finally, I told you how to take action. There's the QR code if you didn't get it the first time. Go ahead and make sure you got that down. So if you plan to live the rest of your life in Bozeman, it's obvious why this should matter to you. This is your home, this is your community, and you should fight to protect it. But even if you don't plan to stay in Bozeman, this still matters. Let me ask you this: when you come back to Bozeman in 20 years to show your kids where it was that you became the person that you are, what do you want them to see? An overdeveloped, overcrowded, noisy, smoggy city full of traffic? Or do you want them to see what we have now? Open fields, clean air, blue skies, and a clear line of sight to the mountains. There are a growing number of young farmers in our community who don't want to grow commodities that will be shipped to who knows where. We want to grow food for you, our community. And we ask that you make a choice. Choose to build a stronger community. Choose to fight inequality and protect our democracy. Choose to create health in our local community. Choose to protect local farmland.